This being Friday, we always start the hour, the show. Our first hour was Brunch with Bernie, our 1 hour national town hall meeting with the guy that I think of as America's senator, although Vermonters know that he is their senator, Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, welcome.
Good to be with you, Tom.
Great to have you here. So what's on your schedule for this week?
There's a lot that's going on, and let me just briefly go over them. Unemployment figures came out today, and they were mixed. The official unemployment rate went down to 7.5%. That's the good news. The bad news is that the real unemployment rate rose to 13.9%. And the point here is that the government uses a number of indices to determine what unemployment is. The official unemployment rate does not include those people who have given up looking for work and those people who are working part-time when they want to work full-time. So the truer indicator of real unemployment is what we call the U6 index, and that's at 13.9%, and something that should be of real concern to all of us. I am especially concerned and hope to get into this a little bit more with youth unemployment, Tom. At a time when we have millions of people who are looking for work and can't find jobs, probably the hardest hit groups are young people, and those are people just graduating high school or people graduating college, often with large debts. So creating the millions of jobs that this country desperately needs should be at the very top of our agenda, and we've got to stay focused on that issue. Some good news is that in the state of Maine, Maine became this week the 13th state in the country to go on record in favor of a constitutional amendment to reverse the disastrous Citizens United decision. And this is an issue that for anyone concerned about American democracy and trying to combat the huge impact that big money has on the political process, the fact that Citizens United and the Supreme Court said that if you're a billionaire or a large corporation, you can spend as much money as you want on an election. If we want to turn that back, we need a constitutional amendment. I've offered that amendment. Some others have as well. And Maine just came on board that issue. Also, I think many listeners know that what sequestration is about, a very, very poor way, a bad way to do deficit reduction. One of the areas that I am concerned about is that programs like Meals on Wheels and congregate meal programs for seniors have seen significant cuts. We have a lot of pain in the senior community, a lot of folks who have a hard time buying the food that they need, paying for their prescription drugs, heating their homes, taking care of the basic necessities of life. We should not be cutting back on Meals on Wheels, and this is an issue that I intend to address in the coming weeks. There's another issue I wanted to touch on, and it was highlighted, I think, by a piece in the New York Times today, indicating there are a number of investigations going on against J.P. Morgan Chase, the largest financial institution in the country. But what we should appreciate is that virtually every single major financial institution in this country has engaged in fraud of one point or another. And I think it is fair to say that at a time when the financial institutions are so huge, you got 6 financial institutions, if you can believe this, having assets equivalent to 2/3 of the gross domestic product of the United States of America. I mean, that's just extraordinary. Yeah. What that means in terms of power, what it means in terms of wealth. And every single one of these financial institutions has grown larger since we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. But if you look at all of them, whether it's J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, all of these have at one point or another in recent years paid very substantial fines for breaking the law. So the question that has to be raised, and we had a town meeting here a few weeks ago with Matt Taibbi, who I know is on your show occasionally. Yeah. And Matt writes about Wall Street. And the real question that we have to ask is whether fraud is the business model of Wall Street. Whether it's not, every company is going to make a mistake, every person makes a mistake. But is fraud, deliberate cheating, the business model of Wall Street? I think you could probably make a case that it is. But bottom line here is that I and others, a few of us, are working on a very, very important issue, and that is the need to break up these huge financial institutions which have so much economic power over our nation and so much political power as well. So that's an issue that I think we should focus on. Another issue that also you and I have talked about is the issue of media concentration. You know, if you try to understand as a nation where we are and how we know what goes on, what should be frightening to all Americans is there really is not a diversity of viewpoints out there in media. You have increasingly a small number of large media conglomerates who own and control what the American people see, hear, and read, and that concentration control has grown very substantially in recent years. You have companies like Comcast, Disney, Time Warner, News Corp, Viacom, CBS, Rupert Murdoch's company, News Corp, controlling a very, very significant amount of the information in this country. President Obama has named a gentleman named Tom Wheeler to be his new chairman of the FCC. And I wrote to Mr. Wheeler expressing my concerns about media consolidation and wanting to know his views on that terribly important issue. And there's legislation that we have on the books called cross-ownership, prohibiting one company from owning a more than a certain amount of television stations, radio stations, and newspapers in a given community. And there has been an effort for many years to try to soften that so that one company can really control almost the entire flow of information in a given media market. And that's something we want to stay on and see how Mr. Wheeler feels about before I cast my vote on that issue. So those are some of the issues that are out there.
Yeah, that's quite a collection. And on the media consolidation, it looks like the Koch brothers actually are trying to get in on that game, possibly looking at the Tribune companies.
It's a slightly different issue, but an issue of huge consequence, as I'm sure you have discussed on the show. The Koch family, which is two guys that are worth $25 billion apiece, a total of $50 billion, one of the wealthiest families in America. And I think as many listeners know, they have been extremely involved in right-wing politics, extreme right-wing politics. They have contributed hundreds of millions of dollars as a result of Citizens United into the recent 2012 campaign. I expect that those huge contributions will continue. They have set up and contributed and funded many so-called think tanks, right-wing think tanks, who have the goal of cutting taxes for the rich, destroying Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and so forth. And now they want to own the Tribune company's newspapers, and that would be a very dangerous development.
15 minutes past the hour. It's our Brunch with Bernie, our Senator Bernie Sanders, taking your calls right after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Brunch with Bernie, our National Town Hall meeting. Check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov. Welcome back. Bob in Dearborn, Michigan, watching on Free Speech TV on the Dish Satellite Network. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, how you doing, Senator? Thanks for all the hard work you do on behalf of the American people. I was watching a report on one of the so-called news networks, either yesterday or the day before. I think it was CBS, and they did a story about all the gun murders in Mexico, and they never mentioned the guns or where they're coming from. So my question is, under the Fast and Furious program, were those guns supplied by the government, or did those come from private gun dealers?
Bob, I know a little bit about that issue, and I apologize. I should know more, and I don't, so I don't want to make an inaccurate statement. But this is what I do know, that as part of the recent gun legislation, there was an effort to end what we call straw purchases. straw man purchases of guns. And what that is about is that right now it is perfectly legal for an American citizen to go in and buy, hundreds of guns, and then that person can sell it to folks in Mexico and drug dealers. And that is an issue that we are trying to get a handle on. People have a right to own guns, but they should not knowingly be able to sell those guns to the drug cartel or people who use those guns to shoot down police officers. So I'm sorry, Bob, I should know more, but I don't know enough about that issue to give you a good answer.
Marcy in Cleburne, Texas. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you a question. I've been hearing a lot of reports about seniors that are on Medicare that they cannot get their chemotherapy. And I want to know, why is that? Because of the sequester that's going on. Because I have cancer myself. I am 76 years old, and I want to know if I'm fixing to have, I live in Texas, and I don't have to tell you about the two senators that are from Texas. I just need to know how that happens.
All right, Marcy, the answer is, again, I don't know what's going on in your community in Texas. I have read those same reports that because of lowered reimbursement rates, as I understand it, some doctors are not performing the kind of therapy that patients need, and that is clearly an outrage. People who deal with cancer don't have a whole lot of time to get the treatment that they need if that treatment is going to become successful. I think that situation depends on where you are living and the medical personnel in that area. So I don't know that it's a national problem, but you're right, it is a problem, and I'm hearing from you that it is a problem in Texas, which must be addressed.
Yeah. Bernie, just 30 seconds. Paul Ryan was asked in a town hall meeting yesterday about the sequester, and he was one of the authors, as you know, of that legislation.
Yeah.
He claimed that it was Obama's legislation, that it was the Obama administration's choice to do the air traffic controllers and everything else, and he said, I want to emphasize choice. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
No, that's nonsense. I mean, a lot of Republicans, I expect Ryan is one of them, voted for it.
Yeah.
So you vote for something, then you blame Obama for it. I mean, the theory of sequestration is that it's a stupid way, everybody agrees, to do deficit reduction because you're cutting across the board rather than making, rather than prioritizing the cuts. And people did not expect that we would go into sequestration, but the reason we're in sequestration has everything to do with Paul Ryan and his friends not wanting to ask the wealthy of large corporations to pay another nickel of revenue into the government.
There you go. There you go. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Talk Media for the Sane Among Us, the Thom Hartmann radio and TV program, and it's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us, taking your calls in our national town hall meeting. Neil in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, you are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. It's a pleasure to talk to you. My question is, why aren't the Democrats going after the Republicans? I mean, I know everything's about diplomacy, but why aren't they not going after them on their lack of patriotism and ethics and morals when they don't seem to care about the infrastructure of this country? They don't seem to care about jobs. They've filibustered every single jobs bill, every single infrastructure bill. They seem more obsessed with abortion than they are with the health of this country. I mean, why aren't the Democrats going after them, like really seriously going after them?
Well, Neil, that's a great question, and I share your analysis, and I would make that criticism of the president as well. I think what we have to understand, there are different ways that you can do politics, especially in the political moment that we're in right now. And I think what people have to appreciate is that in the House of Representatives, and everybody understands that to get legislation passed, you got to go through the Senate, the House, and it's signed by the President. Right now, in the House of Representatives, you have a majority, the Republican majority, which is working night and day to protect the wealthiest people in this country. And in answer to the previous question is, dealing with Ryan and sequestration, what these guys believe, this is what they believe. We have a serious deficit problem, which we do. The deficit was caused by the wars that Bush got us into, tax breaks for the rich, and the deregulation of Wall Street and the financial crisis and less revenue coming in. Those are the causes of deficit reduction. What all of these guys want to do is balance the budget on the backs of the elderly, cutting Social Security, doing away with Medicare as we know it, massive cuts in Medicaid, cuts in education, cuts in environmental protection, nutrition programs. That's what they believe. And this whole fight over sequestration was, do the wealthiest people in this country who are doing phenomenally well, and at a time when we have growing wealth and income inequality, do you ask them to stop paying their fair share of taxes? Do you do away with the loopholes that corporations now enjoy so that 1 out of 4 major corporations not paying a nickel in taxes? These guys are stashing their money in the Cayman Islands and Bermuda and other tax havens, and the Republicans are saying, that's fine, not a problem. But we must cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and education. So to get back to Neil's question, the issue is, given that reality, there are 2 approaches to dealing with that. Number one, you could say, okay, hey, Republicans control the House. We're going to have to deal with that reality, even though those views are way, way, way outside of what the American people support. So you could do what President Obama did and say, okay, I'm going to give you what you guys have wanted for years. I am going to make cuts in Social Security to the so-called chain CPI. I am going to do corporate tax reform deficit neutral, not bringing in any more revenue. I'm going to raise premiums on people on Medicare who make more than $47,000. And I hope you Republicans, with me having given you all that, I hope you Republicans will now work with me. Now, that's one approach. I think that that's a failed approach. And not only the president, but a number of Democrats take that approach. What's the alternative? The alternative is to speak truth to the American people and say, look, middle class is disappearing. Poverty is just extremely high. We have 14% of our people who are unemployed. The rich are getting richer. Large corporations are enjoying record-breaking profits. And you know what? We are not going to do deficit reduction on the backs of the most vulnerable. And I need the American people to stand with me, working families to stand with me, to say we're going to create millions of jobs for our young people and for all workers. We're going to deal with global warming because it's a serious, serious problem. And we are going to take on the Republicans. And the way you defeat Republicans is by raising consciousness and by giving the Republicans an offer that they can't refuse. And that is that if they continue along that approach of wanting to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, education, protecting the interests of the wealthy and powerful, you know what? That represents about 20% of the American people. And let them have those 20%. Our side will have 80%. We can defeat them. But those are the choices that the president and the Democratic leadership have to make. Make a real, clear statement to the American people and demand their participation. So I agree with Neil. I think we have not done that. I'm an independent, caucus with the Democrats. But when the president talks about cutting Social Security and benefits for disabled vets, he muddies the message. He muddies the message and makes it harder for the average person to say, well, is there really much of a difference between the Republicans and Democrats?
Lawrence in Berkeley, California, listening on the WCPT stream.
Hi, Bernie. I wanted to ask you, Bernie, in my reading of the Constitution, Congress can overturn Citizens United without a constitutional amendment because Article 3, Section 2 says, the Supreme Court shall have jurisdiction with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. So therefore, Congress only has to say, by majority vote, you may not rule on what constitutes a human being.
Lawrence, I have to respectfully disagree with you. I think it's more complicated than that. Congress, of course, can start the process for a constitutional amendment and then bring it to the states. But I think most lawyers would not agree with your interpretation. By a 5-4 vote, the Supreme Court decided on that Citizens United decision that a corporation is a person and has the political right to spend as much money as they want during a political campaign. I think it's a decision that very few Americans agree with. I think we've got to overturn it. But I would say, Lawrence, your way politically would not work. We don't have the support to do it in the Congress, and I think that's probably not a proper approach.
26 minutes past the hour, or 27 minutes past the hour. It's the Thom Hartmann Program. Our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders answering your questions, taking your calls in our national town hall meeting here at Brunch with Bernie.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
And be sure to check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov. You can subscribe to the Bernie Buzz. You can sign his petitions. And it's a great news site in general. Sanders.senate.gov. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Free Speech TV is running their pledge drive right now, their membership drive, and they're doing this because this is what's necessary to keep this network going. I mean, literally, they've pay the salary of the staff and pay for the cost of satellite uplinks and carriage fees, and I mean, there's just it costs a little money, not a lot, but it costs a little money to run a television network, and instead of going to BP and saying, hey, we'll sell you ads about how wonderful fracking is, or Halliburton or whatever, instead of that, they've decided to come to you. This is your chance to help Free Speech TV. If you like this show, if you like Amy Goodman's show, if you like the other great programming on Free Speech TV, if you like the documentaries, if you'd like to see more or less of a particular thing, 877-378-8669. Give them a call now. As they say, operators are standing by. Now, for people who watch our show, we've got a couple of special premiums. The first is with a $10 a month for 12 months. There's a 1-year commitment at $10 a month. We'll send you a copy. By the way, these are all autographed by the author. An autographed copy of Walking Your Blues Away, How to Heal the Mind and Create Emotional Well-Being. And I believe that this is a truly revolutionary book. You're not going to find the information in this book anywhere else. You'll find bits and pieces of it here and there, and you'll find most of the bits and pieces here and there written in ways that are designed for academics and psychiatrists and psychologists and psychotherapists. But this is a book written for the average person on how to deal with trauma and how to deal with depression and how to deal with anxiety and how to deal with basically just, the junk that life throws at us. And the history of how we learned how to effectively deal with this stuff. It starts with Franz Anton Mesmer back in the 1700s and ends right now with, or it doesn't end now, but it comes up to today, and Francine Shapiro and EMDR and other techniques like this that are like being used by the Army for PTSD. With a $20 gift per month for a year, we'll send you Walking Your Blues Away plus the Edison gene, ADHD and the gift of the hunter child. We call it the hunter child because I came up with this metaphor of hunters and farmers for people with ADD and people who have attention surplus disorder as opposed to attention deficit disorder. Those being the farmers. They make good bookkeepers, but they'd make lousy detectives or, investigative reporters. And, there's this spectrum, this kind of neurological spectrum. And this book is about that, and it talks about the science and the research and what you can do if you have a child, a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, a friend, a neighbor, a coworker. You yourself are a member of this tribe of, our tribe of ADD people. That's with a $20 a month gift for a year, $240. Autographed by the author, and you'll get that along with Walking Your Blues Away. And with a $30 a month gift, we will add a heavy-duty canvas tote bag in which you will find both of those books, Walking Your Blues Away and The Edison Gene, with a $30 gift per month for a year, $360 gift. You get all three. You get both books plus the tote bag. And of course you can and you can call now 877-378-8669 to make your gift. And you can give more or less. You can do pretty much anything you want, but Free Speech TV needs you now. It's a tough time for Free Speech TV. It's a tough time for all charities, frankly. Has been ever since the election. Last year, all this money got sucked out of the system by a $2 billion, well, when you add up all the local elections and everything, it's probably a $4 or $5 billion election process. And philanthropy is really in trouble right now. And Free Speech TV, while not being in trouble, needs the cash to hit the budget. We're not quite there yet. I mean, not even on this fund drive. I mean, on our last fund drive, we didn't quite hit what we needed. Or Free Speech TV didn't. And they need it now. They need your help. So, $10 a month, walking your blues away. $20 a month, walking your blues away, and the Edison gene. $30 a month, walking your blues away, the Edison gene, and there's a really cool canvas tote bag, grocery bag, whatever you want to call it, a nice shoulder bag that you can carry, and it's heavy duty. I mean, you could put a lot of stuff in it. Call them now, 877-378-8669, and say, yes, I'd like to be part of the solution. I want to help solve the problems of the world. One of the things we try and do on our program, I say, this is not complaint radio. I don't just sit around and complain about stuff. I try to offer solutions and suggest solutions. You can be part of the solution right now by calling Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669. Please. This show is underwritten in part by Aeroside. Better air, better life. Aeroside Air Purifier, developed by NASA, clears the air of harmful gases, household chemicals, mold, viruses, and bacteria. More information at the Aeroside banner on ThomHartmann.com or 800-361-7591. 34 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program, occupying the media 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And this hour is Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls in our National Town Hall meeting. Mike in Clarksville, Tennessee, you are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you, Senator Sanders, for your honest service to this great nation.
Thank you.
I just wanted to briefly touch on the federal budget deficit debate. I think what we all need to do is get back to fundamental economics, which is mainly just numbers. The American people may be confused about a lot of other stuff, but, we know how numbers add up and don't. The federal budget deficit, that's about $1.5 trillion a year, and most of that money goes directly into the top 1% income earners. That's the reason that we have a budget deficit is because, supply and demand have to equal out. Otherwise, we'd have no economy whatsoever. And, instead of raising people's wages like we should have been all this time, these last 30 years, we've just been encouraging people to take out more debt on their own, and the government's been spending, government spending, which is just debt. And of course, that goes into everybody's pocket who benefits from that.
So,
but
Mike, do you have a question for Bernie?
Well, I think I got Mike's.
Okay, you got the sense.
Let me just a couple of points,
okay.
Mike. The deficit is, in fact, a serious issue, but it is not the most serious issue. The most serious issue is that real unemployment in this country is almost 14%. That it is a lot higher for younger people, for minorities, and that we have got to put people back to work. And by the way, when you put people back to work, when your economy expands, people then are not getting unemployment, they're not getting welfare, they're not getting food stamps. What they are doing is paying taxes. When you create jobs, you help lower the deficit as well. And I believe that one of the things that we can do, which will stimulate the economy, put people back to work, is rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, roads, bridges, rail, water systems, put a lot of people back to work doing that, and also start transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. The deficit today, by the way, is not $1.5 trillion. We have made some significant progress in recent years. I believe it's lower than $900 billion right now. That's still a lot of money. But the issue that we have to deal with, I'm not sure that everybody understands it, is what our Republican friends want to do is say, okay, we got a deficit. The only way that we will consider to deal with the deficit is to cut unemployment benefits, cut nutrition programs, cut educational opportunities, cut Medicare, cut Medicaid. And when you do that, not only do you cause a whole lot of suffering for working families and low-income people who are struggling to keep their heads above water, you lose jobs. If you're cutting education, that means instead of hiring preschool educators, you are laying them off. If you're cutting back on public services, if first responders, fire departments, police departments, you're laying off police officers and firemen rather than hiring more of them. So you're growing unemployment. You're increasing unemployment rather than lowering it. So I think the solution to deficit reduction is you need more revenue. Right now, revenue is about 16% of GDP, very, very low compared to modern American history. So I think Mike's point is that federal investments create jobs, and one of the reasons that people are in a lot of trouble is that when wages go down, and when you have a middle class disappearing, when real wages go down, when people are now working longer hours for low wages, how do they make up the difference? They have to borrow money. They go deeper in debt. So, I think Mike makes a good point, but the bottom line is the most important issue the government has got to deal with now is creating jobs.
Paul in San Francisco, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Senator Sanders. I'm calling about the Postal Service, and I know that you have put forward a bill to help save them, and I believe Representative DeFazio is working on the House side.
Yes.
Can you tell us what is happening with those two bills, and
good question,
what we, a regular person like me can do to help move those along and maybe...
All right, let me back up a little bit and tell the listeners what the issue is and talk a bit about what people can do. A couple of years ago, the Postmaster General came up with the idea that we should shut down 15,000 rural post offices in America, shut them down completely, regardless of what that means to rural communities, shut down about half of the processing plants in America, slow down mail delivery and Saturday mail service, and shrink the size, the number of workers that we have in the Postal Service by several 100,000, all of which takes place in the middle of a recession where unemployment is much too high. I and a number of other senators and members of the House disagree with that approach. And we think that, and it's not what we think, but the fact is, and most people don't know this, is the major financial problem facing the Postal Service is not the decline in first-class mail, which is a serious issue. Obviously, people use email now who used to use first-class mail. That is an issue. But the most serious problem is that in 2006, Congress mandated for the Postal Service something that no other government agency comes close to have to doing, and in fact, no private company does, and that is to pay out 75 years of retiree health benefits in a 10-year period. And that means that the Postal Service has to put over $5 billion every single year into that retiree health program, which is, as I recall, about 85% of the financial problems facing the Postal Service. So they have some other problems. That is the main problem. And if you address that problem, you've gone a long way to solving the financial problems facing the Postal Service today. And obviously our legislation does that. Second area is that the Postal Service, in a very aggressive way, has got to address the fact that we do live in the 21st century and that email is real and computers are real, and make changes accordingly to respond to that. And thirdly, they have got to be more aggressive in developing new ways to raise revenue. Right now, by law, if you walk into a Postal Service and you say something as simple as, can you please notarize this document, before I mail it, they can't do it by law, if you can believe that. They can't give you 10 copies of a document that you have. They're not allowed to reproduce those documents. They can't sell you a fishing license or a hunting license by law. So if we ease those regulations, we allow them to become a little bit more entrepreneurial and raise more revenue, I think we can go a long way to solving their financial problems, maintaining a decent level of employment in the Postal Service, and keeping services alive in rural areas like the state of Vermont, where it is very, very important for folks. Now, what can people do? Well, we have good support. I can't remember the exact number of co-sponsors, but we have a lot. I think a lot of senators, some conservative ones, understand how important the Postal Service is to the elderly, to veterans, and to other people. So I would urge, Paul, get the word out. I'm sorry I don't have the number of the bill in front of me, but it's the Sanders bill on postal reform, and we would appreciate people making calls to their senators and House members in support of that.
And callcongress.org is a website on one of our websites that has the phone numbers for the switchboards and even some toll-free numbers that you can use to call Congress, to call your members of Congress. Bob in Woodbury Heights, New Jersey. You're on the air, Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. Hi, Tom. Pleasure. I'm a postal worker at a processing plant and an officer in the union. I won't tell you what I do. They never gonna know who I am. But I would like to know how you feel about Senator Carper and Representative Cummings, who sit on the committees for government oversight. And when I watch them on C-SPAN, they seem a little squishy. You have confidence in them, or what's your feelings on them?
Well, let me just, without commenting on individual members of Congress, let me just say this. I got involved. I'm not on the committee in the Senate. That goes through the Homeland Security Committee, which has jurisdiction for a number of government programs, including the Postal Service. So I don't sit on that committee, which is chaired by Senator Carper. And Elijah Cummings is the ranking member, Democrat, in the House. What I observed a couple of years ago when Joe Lieberman was the chair of that committee, I was not happy with the direction in which the committee was moving. I thought it was making kinds of cuts in the Postal Service that I felt uncomfortable with. So what my role was, I organized kind of an ad hoc committee, which I think ended up being 15 or 16 members of the Senate, who shared my concern. The end result of that is we were able to make the bill that got to the floor a lot stronger than what had originally been in the Homeland Security Committee. It was a reasonable bill, and it passed the Senate with, I think, 62, 63 votes. Didn't do everything that my legislation did, but it did address this most important issue of ending the onerous burden of $5.5 billion every year going into this retiree health plan. So we are now working with Carper and the committee to get the strongest bill that we can. I think we may end up seeing something close to the bill that passed the Senate last year.
That didn't make it through the House, though, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Senator Bernie Sanders with us, 45 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more Brunch with Bernie right after this.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And visit Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov, a great news site. Plus, you can sign up for his newsletter. Welcome back. Lee in Las Vegas, Nevada, watching us on Free Speech TV on DirecTV. Lee, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Mr. Sanders. First, I want to tell you I'm a big fan of yours.
Thanks very much.
And yes, and I want to talk to you about the Koch brothers.
Yeah.
These are two brothers that are so arrogant. I mean, my head almost explodes. They're against the big three. They want to cut everything at all times. They're terrible to work for. The only thing they want to do is cut. They want to see the small people. They want them out on the streets, and they just want to count their money. I mean, I never seen two more selfish people in my life. Is there anything the people, as we the people, can do to slow these two guys down. They give unlimited amounts of money to the Republicans, and they think they can buy the world.
Well, that's right. That is exactly what they are. And thanks for asking the question, Lee. And I hope that most listeners know what Lee is talking about. He's talking about the Koch brothers, two brothers, each worth about $25 billion apiece, total of $50 billion. They made their money in fossil fuels in the, I think, coal and oil industry. They pose as so-called libertarians, wanting the government to get the government off of our backs. But in reality, what they are all about is exactly what Lee said. They are about the doctrine of greed, and that is, we, the Koch brothers, have billions and billions of dollars, and you don't, and we want more and more wealth. We want more and more power, and we're going to work day and night in a whole bunch of ways to make sure that the United States government does what we want, not what ordinary people want. And how do they do that? Well, for a start, as a result of this disastrous Supreme Court decision, they jump right onto that. I don't know, Tom, if we know exactly how much they ended up contributing. Some of it was secret, some of it was public, but there are at least media reports that they have spent something like $400 million on campaigns. This is money that goes out all over the place, all kinds of weird ways. But they end up spending, can you imagine, if you're the average person out there who election time, has the belief that one person, one vote is what America's about, you go out, you vote for the candidate of your choice, well, they do too. But they also spend $400 million on all kinds of organizations and ads and everything else. Furthermore, what they have done with their money is they have created and supported dozens and dozens of think tanks. So tonight on CBS or NBC, some guy is going to get there and they say, well, this is, Joe Schmo from the Heritage Foundation of the Cato Institute, and this is his view. What do you think? And people don't know that these organizations are funded by the Koch brothers or people like the Koch brothers. They don't start out in no place. So it's not the Koch brothers you're going to see on television, but you're going to see people representing, coming from the organizations that they have funded. What do they say? Well, they're going to tell you why we need more tax breaks for large corporations and the wealthy. They're going to tell you why it's absolutely imperative that we cut Social Security or we privatize Social Security, that we do away with Medicare and Medicaid. And this wasn't just the Koch brothers, but recently we had the Business Roundtable making recommendations to Congress that we raise the retirement age to 70 years of age for Social Security and for Medicare. This coming from the CEOs of the largest corporations in America. So we could continue this after the break.
Certainly. It is 10 minutes before the hour. Brunch with Bernie here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the place where we dare to ask, is Walmart a person? And we dare to say, no, not a chance. The Thom Hartmann Program. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Bernie, you were just talking about wealth and corporate power. May I, with your permission, read 3 sentences from Thomas Jefferson that maybe you can riff on?
Sure.
Okay. He was speaking of what happens if super wealthy people get too much power, too much political power. Keep in mind that the wealthiest man who signed the Declaration of Independence, John Hancock, was only worth $700,000 in today's money. These guys were the upper middle class. They were not the real rich. Those people all left. Anyhow, Jefferson said, those seeking profits, were they given total freedom, would not be the ones to trust to keep government pure and our rights secure. Indeed, it has always been those seeking wealth who were the source of corruption in government. No other depositories of power have ever yet been found which did not end in converting to their own profit the earnings of those committed to their charge. If the overgrown wealth of an individual be deemed dangerous to the state, the best corrective is the law of equal inheritance to all in equal degree. He's talking about an estate tax, essentially.
Right. Well, look, I think what Jefferson wrote then is true today in spades. The kind of inequality we have, and just, Tom, it's very interesting to me. There was a poll that came out. Gallup did a poll, I think, a week or two ago. And I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but basically they asked the American people, they said, how do you feel about distribution of wealth in America? And over 60% said, we worry about it. It's unfair. And then they asked this question, and this is what the question was. Do you believe the government should redistribute wealth by raising taxes significantly on the rich? And I don't have the exact statement in front of me, so I may be off by a word or two, but that's essentially what it said. You know what? 52% of the people said yes. Mm-hmm. Now, do you know how many people in the United States Congress would even raise that issue? A handful.
Yeah.
So you have the majority of the people picking up what on Lee's point. They understand there is something wrong when so few have so much. When the top 1% owns 38% of the wealth in America, and the bottom 60% owns 2.3%, and when these guys, the Koch brothers and others, make greed into their religion, and they say, that's not enough, we only have $50 billion in our family. What do we care that over 20% of the kids in America live in poverty? What do we care that people listening to this show right this minute, seniors, don't have enough money to buy the food they need? That's not our problem. We need more and more and more. Cut our taxes. Cut programs for working people. And then they come up with a whole philosophical and economic treatise that they pay professors to write, why it is always a great idea to give more to the rich and more to the powerful and take from the working people and the poor. And, they have all these organizations that come up with these great theories. But that's what it amounts to, what Jefferson was writing about and what Lee is talking about. Now, how do we deal with that? The answer is, and every week people ask that same question, and the answer is not complicated. It is old-fashioned political organizing. That means people have got to understand that it is terribly important for the future of this nation, for the salvation of the middle class of this country, that they be involved in the political process. What does that mean? It means not just registering to vote. It means holding your elected officials accountable, holding town meetings, organizing petitions. Politicians do the wrong thing when nobody is holding them accountable. And right now, for example, I've been working very hard with a number of other senators on trying to prevent cuts to Social Security. I think we got a shot to win. You know why we have a shot to win? Because we're waking up the American people. And the American people overwhelmingly do not believe that you maintain huge loopholes for large corporations and then cut Social Security or Medicaid, etc. And when people stand up and say, excuse me, Mr. Senator or Ms. Congresswoman, you ain't going to do that, guess what? They won't do it. But if people are not paying attention, that's when bad things happen, because the lobbyists are all over Washington, D.C. People are getting huge amounts of campaign contributions to do the wrong things. And the only antidote to that is people by the millions saying, excuse me, we ain't going to do that.
Okay. David, watching or listening over at Sanders.senate.gov in Mamaroneck, New York. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. We have just 2 minutes to the end of the show. So real quick question, please.
Hi. Good afternoon, Mr. Sanders. I'll make this really quick. I never dreamed in my life that what I was learning in school, and it was faintly, the muckrakers and the trust breaking at the early of the last century, would ever repeat itself in the United States. But I think you would agree with me that that's what's been happening since the Ronald Reagan. Do you think it's going to take a depression to get us out? Are we going to have a Calvin Coolidge, who did, as you know, didn't turned his back on the Great Mississippi Flood before things change?
Well, David, I don't want to see a mass depression and suffering. And also, I think, by the way, looking at Germany in the 1930s, when people become very, very, very desperate and don't have enough to eat and the money is worthless, they look at demagogues for solution. So I hope we don't need, I certainly hope that doesn't happen. I think, as I just mentioned a moment ago, David, we just need grassroots organizing, and I know that is really hard. It really is hard stuff. It is hard to elect strong progressives. It is hard to make sure that we keep people accountable. It is hard to even learn the information about the information that we need, because the media very often will talk about superficial things and not basic things. We don't hear a whole lot of discussion about income and wealth inequality in the media and how we can deal with that. So, David, no, I certainly don't want to see a depression. We got, as I said earlier, we got almost 14% unemployment today. That's quite high enough for me, and I want to see that cut. But I think we just do it by working with our neighbors, electing good people, holding them accountable, demanding that they stand up for working families and not the wealthy and the powerful.
Bernie, just 15 seconds, quick final thought.
Well, the final thought is that we are heading into some very, very difficult moments. Congress is going to have to make some real choices, and I hope the American people stand firm, let their members of Congress know no cuts to Social Security, no raising premiums on Medicare, no cuts to Medicaid, that we have to ask the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations to help us deal with deficit reduction, and we can't do that. We can't balance the budget on the backs of people who are already hurting.
Yeah. So very, very well said. Senator Bernie Sanders, sanders.senate.gov is his website. Bernie, thank you again for being with us.
All right, my pleasure, Tom. Take care.
Always an honor.